partners once again. A little business between friends, and always just a step ahead of the law. Always just a step ahead of the law.
It would have been my make or break it time, where I could have really taken off financially in the 2011, 2012 boom, so to speak, where I would have been able to really make it. I sort of took a downfall. I'd never had a real charge in my life, until that time. What happened, the circumstances were, I was up in the mountains for, months, and my registration had expired on my Jeep. Came to town, I had a storage that I had a bunch of weed that I just wanted for my head stash, and I had a bunch of the generators and things that I was taking off of the mountain that I was growing at, which was in Bridgeville. I dropped it off at a storage, and I was still rolling around with like a pound of weed, and I had a trailer that I borrowed that I used to transport all of the storage stuff. Well, this cop saw me on the 101 going south towards the Samoa exit, and he followed me off the ramp and lit me up, and I pulled over. I didn't have my registration up to date. What's that? The Great White beer? I had one of those 12 packs, and it had $58,265 in it that I was taking off the mountain. I should have taken that and put that in the storage, I didn't. This is what really fucked me. Just sitting back there, and he's froze up, and there's a fucking jar at his feet that has a pound of weed in it, it's a big plastic jar, and instead of grabbing it or putting it to the side or doing anything with it, he just sat there frozen, and the cop opened the door, and this fucking weed just tumbles out onto the ground. So, it was just dude, you're fucked, The jar falls out onto the ground, and obviously he picks it up, and puts that on the trunk of his car. And that's the beginning of his investigation. And he goes around and opens up the trunk and finds the Great White 12-pack case full of all the cash. And then he starts filling out the paperwork, puts us all into his car, and takes us down to the highway patrol station, which is only a mile down the road from where we got pulled over. And then they proceed to put us into, they couldn't get us to talk about anything, and so they put us into this police car. Me and two of the guys that grew for me, and just sweat us for a couple hours trying to get us to talk about shit. It's just I don't know how you can do that legally or what the fuck that is, but it's fucked up because you have to pee, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're fucking trapped in there like sardines, elbow to elbow. I had a trimmer before this all went down, a week before, and she had huge boobs. I know this doesn't have, it's just seems weird, but she had these huge boobs, and she was trimming for weeks at a time. So her back was killing her, and she was complaining about it all the time. I got her some Vicodin pills. I got 5 of them. I bought them from a buddy, and I brought them over to her to give to her at the camp. And she used to trim 2 or 3 pounds a day, so it's it's worth it to give the chick these 5 Vicodin because she's going to take 1 Vicodin a day and bang out fucking 3 pounds a day. So it's worth it. Well, when I gave them to her, there was only 4 of them in my pocket. I thought I lost one or dropped it, and I just gave her the 4 of them. One of them was stuck way down in the corner of the jacket, and I didn't even know it. And this fucking cop happened to find it. So the one thing that really caught me up, $58,000 wasn't even that big of a deal. The weed wasn't that big of a deal. The Vicodin, it's an opioid, so now they have something that they can work with to try to charge me to take my money from me. I also had some throwing knives. This is the lamest thing ever. So I had these throwing knives that I bought from the Picky store. And they were like little ones, and they're on my hip, and they are visible. But this cop is lying, because I have this jacket on. It's unzipped, but it's like mostly covering them. But he knew that they were there because he saw that they were there. Like he didn't have to search me to find it. But he claimed it was hidden, and so they gave me a dirk or dagger charge, which it turns out is like, when you look at how the law is in California, having a knife is like worse than having a gun. And it could have something like even a screwdriver, and they could give you a charge for this. But it's just something that you have to now you have to work your way out of. So they've got these 2 bogus charges on me. They've got this charge for this Vicodin pill, which I don't even fucking use Vicodin. And they have this dirk or dagger charge, concealed weapon charge for me. And I didn't know anything about the law at the time. And if I did, I would have got an attorney who would have fought just to get the money back that was taken. Like I wouldn't have to put any money up for an attorney. I wouldn't have got a public defender. And I probably would have beat the case. Just knowing how things work now, I had no clue. I was just like a new guy, totally new to the system. That's $60,000 is a huge chunk of money. So yeah, it was one that was hard to grow on. They gave me some community service, and for every 3 hours was considered basically like an 8-hour period. So I didn't have to do all this 1,000 hours of community service. It was really easy. So that I liked. Losing the money was hard. But, it's one of those things that you can't undo it. It's already done. So you just keep going.